Hello, hello. It's Dana.
And it's Judy. Hi, guys. Good to see
Hi.
you all again.
Good. Nice to see everyone, and I'm sure it's wonderful to see us as always.
As always.
Welcome back to another little conversation at Reading Between the Years. Um, Lots happening in the world, as we all know, and of course, at the baseline of everything that I'm doing is this conversation that we're having about aging and families and relationships and all that kind of stuff that we deal with every day. With all the madness that's going on, we still have this foundation that we're all trying to figure out. So we're just going to
Whether you
continue
know
our
it or not.
conversation. I spent some time this week kind of flip-flopping on what I was feeling about the younger generations and I always feel like that's a slur almost. The younger generations and their what appears to be more prevalent introspection in the world, the sense that a lot more people are looking inward, whether it's because they're unhappy or they self-fulfilling, but that just seems to be more of a common theme with the kids that are in their 20s to their 30s. At least that's where my kids are, so that's where most of my experience is. And I used to think that was not a bad thing, but just such a different shift from what we had growing up. And could never get an answer. I have a son who's 27, whether it's better for them to be doing that now and spending the time doing it now, or was it better for us to just get out there and get the job done and then we'll figure it out later? And neither of us could ever come up with an idea or a final answer on whether one was better than the other. But I realized this week that perhaps if our generation had spent some time looking at things while we were doing them, we wouldn't have made some of the probably pretty bad decisions in retrospect during those times of our lives. I started thinking about my first husband. I'm on my second marriage, but my first husband and the choice that I made in marrying him was definitely driven by the madness that was going on in me. I may have known some of it, but not all of it. So through that people, I've heard some people say you marry your unfinished business. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah. I definitely did that with my first husband. May
that's
he rest in peace.
interesting.
I do wish him peace now that he's no longer with us. But I purposely picked this human, whether it wasn't like my husband now, where through him I'm a better person. It
Mhm.
was like through my first husband, I was able to tread water and maybe manipulate the surroundings so that I continue to feel better about myself, if that makes sense.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, we, especially women, I don't know if it's just women, it could be men too, but I don't have that experience. um, even, through junior high and high school, when that peer pressure comes up, you always want to feel better about yourself. And then that's why people bully people, is because it makes them feel better.
Yeah.
And carrying that into, like you said, those blind decisions, even if it comes to what car you buy or, you know, how much time you spend on your homework as opposed to messing around with your friends, it's still that self-centered decision
Mm.
that, and yeah, and you carry it forward because we do those things as young adults and as teenagers, we do those things blindly
Yeah.
because that's how big our world is. Our world is this big. And then when you go to college, your world gets this big. And you look at yourself and you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe, thank God I'm not in high school anymore. I'm in college. And then after college, it's like, oh God, what did I do the last,
Yeah.
10, 8 years or whatever. And you look back at that. It's the whole hindsight is 2020 thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And
And
some people will grow out of it and some people will mature out of it and some people won't. And it's a yeah, it's a whole different world. Every step of the way, it's a whole different world. And looking back, it can be embarrassing, right?
yeah.
It can be embarrassing. It can be prideful. You can look
Yeah.
and say, oh, "Man, I'm really glad I saved that $10,000 and I didn't blow it on Vegas because now I need to buy a house."
But
Um,
it's just crazy when we think about an unexamined life. We're trying to, the metaphor I used before this, or the phrasing that I said before, we're continually trying to move forward while our feet are still stuck in this big pot of just crazy misunderstanding of who we are, why we are, what we are. And yet we're still trying to press forward and make decisions and make relationships and just do all of that when really we're all just that same person in this kind of stew of who am I, what am I, why am I here?
Yep.
I maybe the kids these days, because they're looking that a little earlier, will be able to make better decisions. I don't know. I don't know that if it's true, I don't know if we'll ever find out. I certainly won't live to see that. But, you know, they talk about how the generations before us messed everything up. Well, yeah, because they were dealing with so much stuff. I can't even imagine wartime, most of the men away at war and the women in the factories, you go back that far. Oh my gosh, that had to be fraught with, personal in just not being satisfied with things, but then still forging ahead. That can't make for a good decisions for an entire generation. The collective decision making was flawed at that point, I would think.
Yeah. It's
I don't
funny that
know.
you say they messed everything up
Yeah.
because everything is so different than for them than everything is for us. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like if we
Yeah.
say, "Oh, our parents messed everything up," and now our kids are saying, "Man, you guys are ruining the environment. You're messing everything up." But, you know, 40 years ago, we didn't have plastic bags.
Yeah.
So it's a different mess. It's a completely different mess.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we could talk about that for hours, but you mentioned something about how they're becoming more aware earlier. Like in what way? Do you mean social media, or do you mean like kids are just more aware because, like, yeah, how are they more, or how are they aware earlier than we were?
Yeah. I just think, and maybe that's the wrong way to look at it, but all the self-care stuff, all the new awarenesses of the different books and everything that you can read for self-actualization and all that kind of stuff, the steps that they take to take care of themselves. I mean, even the term self-care, right?
Mhm.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean self-care? Yeah, even that whole wave of self-care and the different things on YouTube, all the different videos and the meditations and all that kind of stuff that you can listen to, the Hertz musics and that to kind of get your vibration. It's a combination, I think, of the new age, because the old new age were the hippies and they were the crazy ones, and now the
Yeah,
new age is
that's
all
a
the
good point.
tarot, you know, the
Yeah.
new versions of the tarot, the new versions of the meditations with the Hertz music and the different vibrations behind you. All of that new stuff just makes me, and maybe I'm wrong in this, but I just see such a prevalence of self-care things that people are doing. So maybe they're not more aware, maybe they just realize that they're worthy of time and space and making those decisions. I don't know.
It's funny you mentioned the self-care thing too, because I think that all came about, and this is just my opinion. I think that all came about because our generation and the generation before us, like our parents, so we're
Hmm.
talking about post-war and then what you would consider us boomers or Gen Jones. Um, we worked ourselves to death,
Hmm.
and we still do. And so everything that is related to self-care now, do we actually do it because we're the ones that need it? Or is it the generations that follow us who do self-care, but they haven't really worked themselves to death?
Yeah.
Or maybe they still are because of us and they're recognizing it. But it seems to me a lot of people in our generation, people that are my age, still don't do it
Yeah.
because
I think
it's too much work.
but I also think that our end goal is different. We derive our happiness differently, because I think like today worked hard. I mean, had some big time discussions, big meetings, trying to figure out a whole bunch of different stuff, got all the irons in the fire like we all do, typical generation us, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I come home feeling happy because of that hard work.
Because it was successful. Yeah.
But I'm proud of the effort that I put forth. It
Mhm.
isn't like a feeling, it's a product. It's a
Right.
product of my day. It isn't
Mhm.
just, I'm not, if you sit there and expect a feeling just to come over you, you're going to be nothing but distraught about things, because I don't feel happy right now. It's like my 10-year-old granddaughter. It's like, yeah, some days you're bored. Yep. You're
Yep.
gonna be okay. Someday
Yeah.
you just feel a little bit down. Yep. We're in March in Michigan. Yep. The
Yeah.
sun's
See,
out now, thank God. But yep, there are some
it's
days
not
when you don't
here.
feel good. But I think maybe I'm looking at this completely wrong, is that maybe they're expecting happiness to come from just something that just comes over you, as opposed to, it's like me not believing in found money. That's why I don't go to the
Mm.
casino and spend and just expect money to fall into my lap
Right,
because it doesn't have value to me. It
right.
doesn't have validity in my world. My money, I need to work for it because that's a dual satisfaction. I get the monetary satisfaction and I get the knowing that I worked hard for it.
Right. And that's our generation. And I believe the two, three, four generations before us as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always those people that expect someone else to pay for everything.
Yeah.
But the majority of us, yes, we get not only financial gain or to be able to pay our bills through our work, but also self-satisfaction.
Yeah.
So you were saying like a lot of people would expect just this feeling of happiness come over them. That's no different than the false feeling of I can only feel love and not see it or experience it.
Mm.
Like you're not necessarily going to be in love with, I do that too much, sorry. You're not going to be in love. I mean, being in love or feeling love isn't just this thing that washes over you and it always stays there. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way.
No.
If that's how you look at love, that's from a 16-year-old's, vantage point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the rose-colored glasses, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think I told you before that my mom never expected to be happy in her life.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
shocked that you said that.
But look at that. I mean, so she would have been 85, no, 80, no, 90 this year. She's been gone for 30 years. So that makes sense, right? Post World War II,
Mhm.
post Depression baby. I mean, I still take my lunch in bagel bags. I still use sour cream containers because I still have rubber bands around the doorknobs of my house because that was at my grandmother's house because you saved all that shit, right? You use
Oh,
bread
rubber
bags
bands.
for, yeah,
Yes.
rubber
Yeah.
bands. You
Yep.
saved it all because that's where
Yep.
Granny, my grandmother, that's heck yeah, rubber bands, those are valuable.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But
In
if
glass
you,
jars.
yeah, and happiness isn't something that I have high on my list of value for, like I said, if I had a successful day. Happiness is just not a word that I come up with. So maybe I have this all wrong. But I do is that
Content. You're looking at content instead of happiness, or the same thing?
well, yeah, but it's just, so is this self-care? Is that what does that mean? I guess that kind of I always thought it was trying to help you touch base and get closer to happiness. Maybe it's not, that's not what it's about. Maybe I'm all screwed up. Oh no.
No, I agree that I think it's partially about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also um as you and I would put it, a rest and digest thing and not a fight or flight,
Yeah. Yeah.
because self-care is no, you don't have to volunteer for one more thing.
Mm,
You can sit back and you can not feel guilty
yeah.
about doing a hobby
Yeah.
or sleeping in or taking a nap in the afternoon or just, you know, letting that one task go for another day.
Yeah.
I think that's part of self-care is recognizing the fact that you need rest and recuperation, either physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And that's something that our generation, like we already discussed, we're just workaholics
Yeah. We don't do that very
because
well.
that's where our satisfaction comes from,
Yeah.
you know?
And yeah.
But then again, I think that's a quality of people who are ADHD. And most healthcare providers, whether it's EMS, fire, or in hospital nurses like you, are ADHD or ADD. And when I say ADHD, we're not talking about hyperactive, like physically, we're talking about our brain
Mm,
hyperactive. I can walk around the house and want to go downstairs for one thing, for a roll of paper towel to go grab that, bring it up to my kitchen, and end up doing 2 loads of laundry and cleaning a table off in the basement, and then coming back upstairs and go, oh yeah, I just spent an hour and a half downstairs. No, which that stuff could have waited until the weekend or
yeah.
something like that. But that's the H part of ADD that I deal with.
Mm,
I have to tell myself it's okay that I can't make myself feel guilty about not going or about not stopping to do one more thing when I'm not even on this particular task and it's not
yeah.
even related. That to me is part of my self-care because it's literally just giving myself a break.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I have to do everything, all at once. And acting like that just makes your brain spin.
Yeah.
It,
But that's huge because you figure, at least I look at things like that, not allowing myself to not do something. I always should be doing something or something like that. That definitely, even though it's not directly, taps into some of my dysfunction from my past. So
Mhm,
maybe it isn't examining the reason that you do things, but just stopping the behavior.
mhm,
And that has to help as well.
mhm.
I
Yep,
mean, I mean, you really do need to eventually get down to why you're doing what you're doing. But I have to believe that helps a little bit, maybe. I
yeah,
don't know.
it does. And then, like, from the beginning of the conversation about why we focused on certain things when we were teenagers or young adults, it all falls into it, just follows us as we go through, and then we
Mhm.
define it differently.
Yeah.
And you know how what they say, it's too bad. What's the saying about it's too bad you have to be so old to be wise or something? I don't know what it is.
It's
Somebody's
true.
have to put it in the comments, but um, it's it's that concept, it's
Yeah.
like, why didn't I recognize this 20 years ago, or why didn't I do this when I was 20, or why did I think that when I
Mhm.
was 16? Boy, I
Yeah.
was so dumb, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
the whole it's like flavoring through your life, and it just changes as you go,
Yep.
and yeah, it just, yep, that's it.
I mean, the quality, the differences between my two marriages are directly related to the person I am.
Hmm.
It's amazing. So my first marriage, I was getting old. I was 32. Woo, old. Um, wasn't didn't have anybody, hadn't really, I was working in food service. I was out in Seattle and met this guy, and he was in the same company, and I found that his work ethic was very good, which of course is a big thing for me. Go figure. And yeah, it
It's
was
the
just,
same.
yeah, it's like, oh, gee, I value your integrity, whatever. Come to find out, he wasn't anything that I thought he was. I just got hoodwinked. And a lot of it was, I want to get married. I want to have kids. So we got married. And I was telling Judy earlier, I've always had, I don't want to say inferiority complex, but both my brothers are brilliant. My brothers are brilliant human beings. Um, and so I married someone that was not as book smart as me, I guess. I had gone to college and all this. He hadn't. So I think that I did that because it all automatically, I already had that level, that hierarchy above him,
Hmm.
whether was true or not. But I think that that was true. So I knew that I would always, in my daily life, have this awareness that I was above somebody
Hmm.
because my whole life I felt like I was below everybody.
Hierarchy.
I mean, horrible. What a horrible way to go into a relationship. I mean, I'm grateful I have two kids and it lasted 7 years, but wow, that's really, think of all those decisions that are being made out there every day when people think that they're making them from free will and they're truly still trying to heal the wounds or try to get the attention of whoever they didn't get attention from
Mhm. The,
their
the
whole lives.
the wounds from years ago, and
Yeah,
like the slow bleeds that we're not aware of,
yeah.
like you were saying. But I think, my siblings in my childhood was very similar to that, because I don't know if it was the whole college thing as well
Hmm.
or not. My siblings are probably going to listen to this sooner or later, but my dad went to college, left early. My mom went to college, left early. So they both had very specific skills, and they're both very intelligent people. My dad's a retired fire chief. And my mom was very intelligent. In fact, she worked in not EMS, but she was a dispatcher, and she worked at Greenfield Village, which is now the Henry Ford
Hmm.
Museum in Dearborn. And she contributed a lot to society.
Yeah.
But I think with us five kids, it was, oh yeah, we have to go to college because our parents didn't get to go to college or didn't get to
Hmm.
finish college for one reason or another. Um, and it was always a struggle. And out of the five of us, um, we all have different accomplishments, certifications, or degrees,
Hmm.
um, but not necessarily college. Uh,
Yeah.
I have a sister who has a master's degree, She's probably got the most education of all of us. But I think we used to see each other as competition.
Hmm.
Now it's more like survival.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, just growing
absolutely.
up, and we should probably talk about that sometime, was growing up with different siblings, like you were talking about. Your brother
Yeah,
was brilliant, and you felt the pressure to have to, overcome that, that fact,
yeah. The
right?
deficit was there, but now that's the other thing too. Now that we don't have parents and it's just us, and years ago, because I was we don't know each other. We weren't around each other very much. So I couldn't really have any proof to the contrary. So I just lived with that. Oh yeah, they're brilliant human beings. They're the best
Mhm.
human beings in the world. So that's where they were. I didn't have, like I said, proof either way that that was true or not. So that's just where they stayed.
Right.
And then we've had life experiences. My middle brother was with me when when our dad died, which I was very proud of, but it wasn't his jam. So it was, we all play different roles in these different situations in our lives. So now I feel like we're on that even, or I see that it doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah.
They each have their strengths, but now I think I'm able to see my strengths. And I think they have some awareness of some strengths that I have that maybe they don't, which was the other big thing of me being less than, was that they just didn't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just didn't care about me. And that was fine.
Did you
It
want
was
them to?
no, but it didn't matter either. It's like we were just non-entities in each other's lives. But I just knew, whenever you're the youngest, it's going to be a thing, right? I think
Yeah.
it's always going to be a thing with the older siblings.
Yep.
But it's just really nice now. And now that we're kind of forced to be intentional with our relationship because we don't have the parents that bring us together once a year,
Hmm.
we have to make the effort to stay in touch with each other.
Hmm.
And even if it and be grateful for any of it. That's the other
Right.
thing, is to not put too much pressure on it.
Yeah.
Because you put so much pressure on it, then it just gets more awkward and becomes an obligation. And
Right.
I think any obligation with family is tainted already. You're never going to get anything out of it that's going to be valuable.
It's not enjoyable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not fun at
And it all
all.
depends on how it's couched too. But yeah, my sister-in-law, my husband's brother's wife, so his sister-in-law really. I mean, we've always been very close with them. Kurt and Mitch were the closest. And she said she one of her biggest concerns when both their folks died was that she didn't want to lose touch of her family, because we were her family. She has a
Mhm.
sister, and her dad is still around, but she doesn't get to see them as often either. But she just didn't want to lose touch with us.
Yeah.
And so we have been intentional when it comes to getting hold of her and, trying to get together and things like that. But kind of doesn't work. It,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen. I mean, it's minimal. Um,
And I think family
it's
relationships,
fine.
yeah, being able to take it beyond the convenience that it has when we're younger is very difficult.
Yeah, it is.
It's very
We're almost
difficult.
out of time, so we've got
Oh,
to wrap it up and say goodbye. Um,
we kind of rambled all over today, but
we
it was
did, but
always,
that's okay. I mean, I learned a lot
yeah,
about
I hope.
my family, but yeah, yeah. The rose-colored glasses while we were growing up. We could still talk about this next week.
Yeah.
So,
Well, always feel better after this, and I hope everybody else does enjoy it as well. Please don't hesitate to send us comments if you watch this video and it means something to you or doesn't, or have suggestions. We're learning as we go, so we'll see you next time.
all right, take care, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.